That's what they said in this article. Okay, well, let's see. Patriot Act is now permanent. They were against that. Patriot Act now permanent. We're now discussing the rights of U.S. citizens not being read to them. You can be held indefinitely if you're suspected of crimes. That's pretty huge. The administration is telling us that we have no right to assume privacy of location. In other words, they can track you without a warrant. Our regulatory czar, Cass Sunstein, has recommended government agents infiltrate American citizen groups. Government agents infiltrate. What? I mean, that's KGB, isn't it? Any group that disagrees with the administration is now called anti-government. The FCC was told by the courts that they couldn't do net neutrality. They said, that's fine. We'll just declare the internet a public utility. We're doing it anyway. Wow. The vast majority of Americans oppose government-run health care. The government did it anyway. I mean, I could go on for 10 minutes with this stuff, but you get the idea. Is there any sign of fascism from a year ago? A year ago, the Time article called it crazy to allege that fat cats and bureaucratic bloodsuckers are plundering our future. That's a quote from the article. What a stretch that is. I mean, we're only $120 trillion in debt. We're helping now to bail out bankrupt European nations like Greece. Wait until you see what I have coming in the next 10 minutes. It'll blow your mind. It was a crazy idea, according to Time, last April, that I might believe that Mexico could collapse and chaos pour across our border. They thought it was crazy last year. Well, corruption in the Mexican government is pretty much a way of life. Drug cartels are so powerful, Mexican troops have been deployed by thousands to fight them. 2,213 drug-related deaths have been recorded so far this year. Nearly 535 police and military officers were killed last year alone. More than 11,000 people overall have died in the drug war in 2 years. The situation is so grave that the U.S. Congress appropriated $1.3 billion to fight the drug war, with another $310 million requested for 2011. This is for Mexico with the Merida Initiative. This is not for our own law enforcement agencies. No, this is for them. As for chaos crossing the border, well, why do you think all of a sudden Arizona is in the news? Because Phoenix is second in the world in kidnappings. Number 2, a city in the United States. Bogota, Colombia is number 1. Nearly all of them illegal aliens or drug-related, and that's why it doesn't make the news, because these people who are so passionate and care so deeply don't seem to care about the kidnappings. I don't understand that. A year ago, Time magazine could find no evidence that America believes too little in God and too much in global warming. Made me tears of a clown. Well, here's a recent Gallup poll. Shows, in fact, we are losing our religion. Survey says since 1948, Americans who say they have no religion has increased by 500%. 1 year after lamenting my crazy stand on global warming, it has become crystal clear that scientists fudged the data, lied about the numbers, gone out of their way to exaggerate the problem, and yet tomorrow they will introduce the cap-and-trade bill in Congress. Also from Time, in the cover story they ran on me, Madman, Time alleged that I was afraid of one world government, which would turn a once proud America into another France, ruled by a one world government. Well, let's see. Speaking of France, the French president of the European Central Bank, Jean-Claude Trichet, told Forbes that global government is extremely necessary. Al Gore has also said the same thing. Leaders have spoken openly about one world currency. Barack Obama himself numerous times now calling for the global financial regulations. 1 year later, it is so commonplace to hear politicians use variations of the phrase global government that nobody's even paying attention anymore, unless you say we're headed for a global government, and then it's crazy to notice it for some reason. But my favorite line from Time that I'd like to use as evidence that what was insane a year ago is commonplace today. He used to be afraid that hypocritical Republicans in the Bush administration were killing capitalism and gutting liberty. But now all he's afraid is that the all-too-sincere leftists in the Obama administration are plotting the same thing. How do I even begin to respond to that? All right, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm going to let Bush and the Obama administration do it for me.
I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
We get the joke. We know that the free market is nonsense.
Right. What a difference a year makes. So the question is this, America. A year later, who's crazy? Are you crazy? Or do we have to attach the crazy title to those people who refuse to recognize that our country is transforming overnight? You decide. I told you yesterday that we're going to be exposing the players of Crime Inc. on the international level, and it's pretty dicey. But I decided this morning, before you understand the people behind this corruption, you need to understand the end game. And some of the things that are happening right now, that's what we're going to focus on tonight. There are three stories that I want to talk to you about. They're all in the news, but something's wrong. Something is wrong. When you hear these stories, I want you to ask yourself, how is this making America into a stronger nation? What is our exit strategy? What does this look like at the end? Here's story number one. It's about a 76-year-old law that unions have been ruling their elections for a long time. It's just been changed now by the Obama administration. First changed 76 years. The National Labor Relations Board made it much easier yesterday for airlines and railroad workers to organize. Okay, airlines are always going out of business, and the trains are subsidized. I mean, how's the union going to help here? New rule would allow the union to be recognized with a simple majority of workers who cast ballots. Okay? The previous rule required an okay from the majority of the entire workforce. But if they hold an election and you're not there, oh well. Before, if you didn't vote, you were counted as a no vote. Who pushed for this change? Our good friends at the AFL-CIO. CEO Richard Trumka responded yesterday to the decision, saying the new rule, quote, allows for a more fair and consistent democratic process. Oh, they're always in there for our democracy. What is it that Free Press co-founder Robert McChesney said again about our democracy and how to make our system work? Here it is. There is no real answer but to remove brick by brick the capitalist system itself, rebuilding the entire society on socialist principles. There it is. What are unions? Okay, they're socializing the workers that aren't getting the job done, making it fair, spreading the wealth. Unions are responsible, not alone. It was the management at the car companies in league with the unions. They both self-destruct. But unions played a big role in the recent collapse of our auto industry. Why are we making it easier for them to form when we have to be competitive? What is that? What are we doing to the system if we start to make everything unionized? That doesn't make any sense. Now here's the next story. Next story is about Fannie and Freddie. You might have heard, maybe not, that Fannie Mae is now seeing $8.4 billion more of your money from the Treasury Department after losing $13.1 billion in the first quarter. Why is that not a bigger story? Last week, Freddie Mac said it would need another $10.6 billion in government funds after losing $8 billion in the first quarter. Do you remember them asking this money for you? Did you see that? The two firms now have tapped more than $145 billion from Uncle Sam's unlimited credit line. They don't have to ask you for money anymore or ask your permission. They just do it. They just take your credit card and charge as much as they want. Did you ask for this? Are you for this? The third story is Greece. Whew, Greece. We're not only bailing ourselves out, Fannie and Freddie, but now we're trying to bail out Europe as well. The European Union, along with the IMF, is giving $1 trillion to Greece. $1 trillion. The U.S. contributes 17% of the IMF funds. So how much are we on the hook for? $54 billion. 54. That's more than the White House expects for the budgets of our Commerce Department.